trapped beneath Earth. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mystery Safari and to another chilling installment of cave exploring gone wrong. In today's story, we dive into the haunting tragedy of a father and son duo who entered the labyrinthine chambers of Crimson Echo Cavern. Only one of them would emerge. What began as a routine weekend spelunking trip turned into a horrifying descent into darkness, confusion, and heartbreaking decisions. The cave, known for its deceptive passages and sudden drops, became a living nightmare as rising underground waters and a broken flashlight sealed their fate. Their desperate cries for help would echo unheard through the stone halls, and what rescuers found days later still baffles even the most seasoned cave divers. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. This story is as claustrophobic as it is emotionally devastating. Wired for disaster. But beneath the blinking lights and polished floor of an abandoned Cold War-era missile silo in Nebraska lies a descent as dangerous as any cave system on Earth. What used to be a nuclear launch facility has become an unofficial exploration spot for thrill seekers and urban spelunkers. The silo is a maze of rusted ladders, flooded chambers, and collapsing tunnels, unmapped, unlit, and unstable. Its lower levels are submerged in ice-cold groundwater, forming a vertical labyrinth where one wrong step could send you sliding into a black abyss. That didn't stop 28-year-old Marcus Hayes, a self-taught diver and ex-electrician, from attempting the deepest silo dive ever recorded. With his homemade equipment and a headlamp duct taped to his helmet, Marcus descended past the 5th level into waters no one had dared enter since the 1980s. What happened next is still not entirely understood. Radio contact was lost. The tether line jerked violently, and when rescue divers finally reached the 6th chamber days later, they found only a scratched dive slate with one word etched into it: alive. Whether it was a message or a mistake, no one can say for sure. The silo was resealed soon after, declared too dangerous for further entry, making it one of the only places in the US where an entire mystery now lies locked beneath 6 stories of steel and stone. The diver's final breath. Everything about the submerged system beneath Blue Devil Sinkhole looked familiar to 31-year-old dive instructor Eric Langston, until it wasn't. Known for its crystalline water and easy access, the Florida Sinkhole is a favorite for open water divers, but beneath its placid surface, a narrow crevice snakes deep into the limestone, leading into a dangerous, unmapped system unofficially dubbed the Devil's Throat. Eric had explored the entrance before, but never attempted a full descent. On a calm morning in 1997, with favorable weather and new tech gear, he finally decided to go deeper than ever. He descended alone, leaving a guideline and checking his gear twice. Visibility was excellent at first. Light beamed down from above, but once past 100 feet, the walls closed in and silt filled the water like smoke. Still, Eric pushed forward, confident in his training. But when he failed to return after 45 minutes, search divers entered the system. Hours later, they found him wedged in a dead-end chute, just 10 feet from an open passage. His tank was empty, but more troubling was the full reserve he never used. His dive computer showed erratic depth changes and a sudden stop, suggesting he'd gotten disoriented or panicked in the silt cloud. Some blamed equipment failure, others thought nitrogen narcosis had set in. But seasoned divers who visit the sinkhole still whisper the same warning: Blue Devil doesn't take mistakes lightly. What should have been a routine dive became a grim reminder that even the most tranquil waters can hide fatal twists. The lake that wasn't. What began as a thrilling dive into the unknown soon spiraled into one of the most mysterious and unsettling cave incidents in Venezuela's diving history. Armed with a decades-old hand-drawn map and fueled by whispers of a hidden underground lake, Gustavo and Eduardo descended into the Rito de Acarite cave, a known site with a deadly reputation. Though popular among local divers, no one had ever confirmed the existence of the lost lake marked deep within the flooded passageways. But that didn't matter to the two friends. They were determined to find it. Slipping beneath the surface, their dive began smoothly. Visibility was decent, and the entrance tunnels were familiar. They laid a line and kept close, navigating the cold, dark bends. But as the terrain narrowed and the water grew cloudy, their pace slowed. Somewhere beyond the third chamber, they passed the last known boundary of previous dives. This was uncharted territory. And then, contact was lost. When they failed to return by nightfall, rescue teams mobilized, though with limited information and no precise location. After 2 grueling days of searching, only Eduardo's body was recovered, floating just beyond a collapsed limestone wall with his tank nearly full. Gustavo was never found. Theories swirled: silt-out panic, equipment failure, a sudden cave-in, or maybe they had simply gone too deep chasing a story that never existed. To this day, divers who enter Rito de Acarite speak of the incident with unease. Some believe the lost lake might still be there, waiting to be found. Others think it was a myth that lured 2 skilled divers past the point of no return, into the maze of mud. From the very start, the odds were stacked against them, but Gustavo and Eduardo pushed forward anyway, driven by excitement, pride, and the promise of discovery. Despite the warnings, despite the brittle old map, and despite knowing that the Rito de Acarite cave was infamous for its silt-filled tunnels, they dove in with confidence. They even laughed off the idea of hiring a seasoned cave diver, convinced their open water experience was enough. But once inside, reality began to shift. The water turned cloudy almost immediately, visibility dropped, and when they surfaced in an unmarked air pocket, the first alarm bell should have rung. The guide rope meant to lead them home had come loose, drifting uselessly behind them. And worse, when they dipped back under, the fine sediment they'd kicked up earlier created a total blackout. Eduardo managed to feel his way out by sheer luck, emerging shaken but alive. Gustavo, however, got briefly tangled, then swam in the wrong direction, deeper into the cave. He surfaced again in a second, larger air pocket, alone, disoriented, and finally gripped by fear. As the minutes stretched and the silence thickened, the excitement that brought him here drained away, replaced by something primal. The terrifying realization that he was lost in a lightless maze with no clear way out. And above ground, Maria clutched the waterproof prayer she'd given him, its protection now as uncertain as the fading bubbles rising from the cave's still entrance. Trapped but not broken. What began as a bold mission to uncover a mythical underground lake quickly turned into a chilling survival story of human endurance, near death, and miraculous rescue. Alone in an unmarked air pocket deep within Venezuela's Rito de Acarite cave system, Gustavo's cries for Eduardo were swallowed by the endless silence of the stone and water that now entombed him. Realizing panic was a luxury he couldn't afford, he began methodically carving X's into the rock each time he surfaced in a dead-end chamber, trying desperately to retrace his steps. As his second light began to die and the cave pressed colder around him, he climbed onto a patch of dry stone, shivering in the pitch-black silence, conserving what energy he could while clinging to hope. Meanwhile, Eduardo, shaken but alive, raced to find help, eventually reaching out to a veteran diver named Steve Gerard. Though initially skeptical, Steve agreed to fly to Venezuela after intense persuasion and a deal that involved Gustavo's parents fronting thousands for transport. Landing early on July 15th, Steve and fellow diver John Orlowski wasted no time entering the cave. In the same black, silty waters that nearly claimed Gustavo, they pushed forward. After surfacing in one of the pockets, Steve believed they were too late, but just ahead through the murk, a figure stumbled toward them. Gustavo. Against all odds, he had survived nearly 40 hours in complete isolation. With glucose water in hand and a carefully coordinated plan, Steve and John led Gustavo back through the labyrinth. When they emerged from the cave's mouth, cheers erupted through the jungle. Gustavo collapsed into the arms of his loved ones, alive but forever changed. A helicopter took him to safety, but it couldn't lift the haunting memories that would follow him in the weeks to come: sleepless nights, flashbacks, and the lingering echo of water dripping in total darkness. The legendary lake was never found, but what did surface was something even rarer: a tale of improbable survival in one of the most unforgiving environments on Earth.